Hi, I'm Presley Quon from The Pinnacle. In our last issue, we published a staff editorial asking for your opinion on the drugs and alcohol policy. Now let's hear what you had to say. Do you believe that the drugs and alcohol policy changes students' behavior for the better?
I think it holds kids accountable. We're called to get the best out of our athletes, out of our musicians and leaders and all the rest, and every student. And so the leverage we have with extracurriculars and having a contract for drugs and alcohol allows us to leverage those students into right choices, because we've seen over and over and over how many kids have shipwrecked their lives through use of drugs and alcohol and squandered the gifts they have. And so we want to be partnering with families and with that kid to be able to have every student be as productive and healthy as possible.
I don't know if it's effective in changing their behavior, because basically my opinion on this is it depends on which way you're looking at it. If you're looking at it from let's make the school image better, then kick off the kids who are doing bad stuff and it makes the school image better. But if we're looking at this in the perspective of trying to help the kids, then it doesn't help the kids, because they get kicked off and then they have nothing to hold them back when they do want to go do drugs and alcohol.
I think that changing the drug and alcohol policy will ask students to make a commitment to a sport, and it'll really ask them to decide what's important to them. If that's sport and they're going to invest 100% into that, then they'll choose not to take part in drugs and alcohol. So I do think it does better for the student, the families, and the schools.
Does the drugs and alcohol policy change your behavior during season?
No, not really. I'm generally like a pretty, you could say, like well-behaved kid, but it definitely, I know it changes the behavior of some kids. Some people say it's a little much, some people say it's not enough, but it really depends on who you talk to.
So you don't mind signing the contract?
No, not at all.
I have seen it in the past change certain students' behavior for the better. I have seen students turn things around because of that policy being in place, whether they're on sports or council. They don't want to be removed from a program. I've also seen it affect students' behavior for the worse. They violate a contract and then suddenly they're removed from programs that keep them in school, programs that keep them involved. And so it's kind of a mixed bag. I've seen it work effectively, and I've seen it work negatively.
I honestly think that if a kid is in an environment where they're going to party or not party, they're going to stay there, regardless of any school policy or not.
And I've learned even with detention, sometimes it's not about changing behavior, it's giving a consequence to somebody doing something that is a rule or a policy or something. So whether it's changing behavior or not, it's still a consequence to something they're doing. But I think it changes behavior for some kids. They'd maybe do more. A school without it would really scare me, because then they're just free to do whatever they want.
I feel like people are being more cautious about it now, and they're just kind of like listening and maybe, not doing it if it's a sport time.
I guess it seems like people are just going to, instead of not doing it, they're going to try and be really sneaky about it.
So as far as efficiency, it's not effective in keeping kids from going to parties or doing drugs and alcohol, but it's more just they try to do it less publicly.
Yeah, it seems like it.
I think it could be really effective, but I don't think that it's followed as well as it should be.